In this demo, I will show you how you can create a Microsoft Teams bot that is hosted in Azure, and how you can debug your code project generated by your teams by using ngrok, and finally, when you are done developing your bot application, how you can deploy that code to Azure and have that bot usable on the Teams side. First off, let's start by creating the Azure resources that we need. I've already created a new resource group for this bot, so inside of that, let me create a new Azure Bot resource. And here we give our bot a unique name. You can change the bot pricing in tier to free if you like. I'll just leave it to standard for these demo purposes, and I'm also going to leave this type of app to multi-tenant and choose to create a new app registration in Azure ID. Then I'll just click on Review and Create, and as the validation has passed, Azure will create the resources for us. So it will create a new Azure Bot resource and also a Key Vault resource. Now our resources have been deployed, and we can go to the Azure Bot resource. And here the first thing we want to do is go to Configuration and copy this Microsoft App ID over here. And let's copy this to an empty notepad. And then we click on Manage. This directs us to the Azure AD application registration. Here we already have one secret created, and you can find this in the Azure Key Vault that was created alongside with the Azure Bot resource. But for this demo purpose, let's just create a new secret. It streamlines this process a little bit. And then let's copy that to clipboard and to Notepad for later. Then let's use the breadcrumb link to navigate back to our bot and then go to Channels. And here we want to select Microsoft Teams, agree to the terms of use, leave that to commercial and click Save. Now this bot will be enabled for Microsoft Teams use. And that's everything we need to do regarding the bot resource for now. I'm just going to go to the overview blade to navigate back to our resource group. And next we are going to create a web app resource, and that will actually contain the bot code we will be creating in a later step. So let's select the same subscription and same resource group and call this by this name. We publish it as code and select Node 14 runtime because projects generated by your teams use TypeScript and Node.js. Let's use Linux operating system and select West Europe as the region. You can select an existing app service plan or create a new one. Let's create a new one for this. ASP stands for App Service Plan. And I'm going to size this down a little bit. For demo purposes, I'm not going to put it to free, but for development and quick testing purposes, you can totally use the free tier. Okay, we're done here. And let's create the resource. And again, this shouldn't take that long, so just let's wait a little bit. Or perhaps we can actually proceed to generating this bot project while we're waiting. So let's just call it demo bot, our solution. Oh yeah, I should probably tell you this Your Teams is a Yemen generator for Teams projects, so you can download both Yemen generator and this Teams app generator online. And after you've installed it, you can start Your Teams from command prompt. So first I've navigated to an empty folder that I've created here, and then just typed Your Teams. It often takes a little while to start, but after that it allows you to create a project for a Teams bot. So let's call the solution demo bot, use the current folder. I want it to have a bit nice looking name, and that's my employer's name. It recommends me to use the version 1.9 manifest. Let's use quick scaffolding. It asks me less questions, which is great for this demo. And here you can select one or more apps to include in your project by using a spacebar and arrow keys. So I'm just going to select bot for this. And here we need the URL of the web app that we just created. So now that it has been deployed, let's go to the resource and copy this URL. Let's copy that for Notepad because we actually also need it later. And then let's add that in here as well. And we don't really need a loading indicator for a bot, so let's say no to that. Create a new bot framework bot, and we don't need to call it bot, demo bot is just fine. And here we need the Microsoft App ID that we copy pasted from the Azure Bot resource earlier, if you still remember. Come on, let me paste this. Yeah. Copy, paste, yay. And now we do not want to add a static tab. You could do that and include some additional information in the same view where your bot operates, but we don't want to do that. We also don't want to add a support file at this time, nor include call support for the bot. But if you wanted, you could also use bot for calling. And now it will generate the project structure for us. It will take, I don't know, 5 to 10 minutes. So yeah. Okay, now our project has been created, so let's open Visual Studio Code by typing code space dot. And the first thing we want to do here is go to the environment file and paste the secret for our bot. So you can see that it already has the app ID, but it's missing the secret. So let's add that and press save, and then we want to open terminal, and we can immediately start debugging now. So we debug by typing gulp ngrok serve, and before you can run this you need to download the ngrok tunneling service. But after that, after you've installed that, then you just type this and press enter, and now it will compile our code and the manifest file and package that into a solution that we can add to Teams. Here we have this public host name that we need to copy. Like so. And where we put this is we go back to our bot resource, and here configuration, and add it here, HTTPS, that's the ngrok URL, and then API messages. And now service running, and then we can sideload our app by going to Teams, apps, and then upload a custom app. And for testing purposes, I upload it just for me, not for my entire organization. And here we have a package inside the packages folder, which we just upload like this. And then we can add the bot to ourselves and debug that in Teams. So it will start off by sending this kind of a welcome adaptive card, and it offers the same buttons here as it offers us actions via the chat. So we can ask them, who are we? And then if I say yes, it prints out more information about me. But maybe this time I don't want it to do that. But I can ask it to also mention me, and then ask it to give me some help. But unfortunately it's not able to do that yet. And in code, these things can be configured if we go to search, server, our bot name, and then the codes are here. So in the dialog bot, there's the general on message event handler, and that will open one of these dialogues visible here. So here's the main dialog, and here's the user info dialog. It asked me if I wanted to print more information or not, and then it would have printed my name and my Teams ID and my email. But because I chose it to not do that, it just said okay, maybe next time. And then when I asked it to mention me, then it mentioned me and asked for help. Then it said that it's sorry that it wasn't able to do that. There's also other things it can do. So here, if we type this on you can see this list of all the other event handlers that are available. So I have a piece of code over here related to one of those event handlers that needs on message reaction. So we can add more functionality to this bot, just like this. So when I now save, it will compile a new version, and after that I will be able to test how it will react when I react to one of its messages, and it's just complaining about me not having proper indentation here, but it's not a biggie. So what happens if I just like this or laugh at this message that it sent to me earlier? Thanks for reacting to my message, and then it tells which reaction I used. So yeah, that's how you can add more functionality to the bot. So now that we've finished implementing our bot, we can just stop debugging here, and then we want to actually take this bot into Azure and publish it to our entire organization. So what we want to do is type gulp manifest. It will create an application package for Teams using our production settings, meaning the Azure URL, etc., instead of the ngrok URL. And in addition to this, we also need to switch the messaging endpoint URL to point to the actual web application URL where our bot code will be hosted. So we do that. And now I can uninstall this bot that was deployed just for me and go back to apps and now upload a custom app for my entire organization. And now you can see from the timestamp that it's a new package, and now it will upload it for the entire organization. And again, in a similar manner, I can add it to myself. But before this bot works again, we need to publish the code to Azure first. And I have installed an Azure extension for app services to my Visual Studio Code. And here I will look for the demo bot resource and right click that and then deploy to web app. It opens up this kind of pop-up, and then you just hit enter, and that will start deploying after you agree to those dialogues. So now it will deploy the code to Azure, and with that the bot works just as it did while debugging. So yeah, that's it.